Hello everybody, this is Starman, and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, last time you remember, we explored a bit of the Mordain Kadal. We got a potion that increased our maximum health a bit, and we stopped by Lamut to see what everybody had to say here. But we're going to go ahead and head up toward Yabon now, which I don't think there will be anything majorly different here. And yeah, we're not going to take any chances walking around while it's still dark out, because the area is apparently under martial law at night. And we probably will not find anybody else to talk to around here. And just because I'm curious, 2510... And unfortunately, it does not let you look at the stats on this one, but I think James, being fast as he is best served with a rapier anyway. Flaming arrows, tempting, but definitely not a good idea. Okay. And yeah, nothing in there. We still can't go and embarrass Owen by talking to his aunt. So go ahead and curve back around this way. Yeah, once you've discovered a treasure chest, it stays pretty much empty, so no point in checking the Mordhell locks anymore. I don't think this fellow is going to... Yeah, nobody's... The brother Jeremy with the trapped chest is no longer here. And yeah, nothing on the corpse, but there is one new thing we will find up in this area besides another potential random ambush. Because you might recall I did mention that there was a quest we could not start until Chapter 2 in the High Castle area. And what the heck, let's go up the pathway. There's no getting through those snowdrifts out there. The Incladel is blocked, and it'll likely be spring before we can get through again. Thanks for the information, Lieutenant. So yeah, we can't go into the Northlands. Sorry. But that's okay. My goal lies eastward. Because remember, the Temple of Dala said that it needed a bag of grain. And there is a place now where we can get that. The Krivas was occupied. Standing away from a clutch of bushes, Squire Philip impaled them with a flushed-faced glare while he refastened the cinches of his pants. Deciding that his dignity was not irretrievably beyond repair, he politely tucked in the tail of his shirt while he addressed Owen. Not that I'm displeased to see you, but you picked an odd moment to show up. Sorry about that. I didn't recognize you from behind, and when we saw you duck into this cub hole, where we became suspicious. We have a few problems with bandits on the roads. I've narrowly avoided some myself. Fortunately, they didn't pay much attention to me. I don't think Father would have been too pleased if I'd ended up ransomed. Did you ever find that chest you were looking for? Bit of a disappointment. As soon as I had the lid up, I found it was empty. I should have expected something else would have gotten there before me. Likely our bandit friends plundered it. Well, we can now ask him about grain and High Castle. I don't suppose you would know where we could pick up a bag of raw grain. Why on earth would you want any? You can't eat it, you know, or at least not without doing disgusting things to it. Please don't tell me you're developing a taste for pottage. No, nothing so horrible as that. The priests of Dala have had more of the deserving poor this season than they can handle and need grain for the miller. We thought we would lend a hand. Sounds worthy to me. You might try Haley Batencourt, who lives south of High Castle Cross. I've done business with him on Father's behalf before. He might be willing to work in exchange. So yeah, south of High Castle. Should Uncle and I head on to the east, we might stop by High Castle for a while and see the sights. Not much to look at. It's a typical border town, and the only thing of interest there is the castle itself. I understand that Prince Rufa paid for some of the new fortifications there after the Rift War, but all in all I wasn't much impressed with it. However, I had to admit they have a very nice armory there. They keep some of the prettiest swords I've ever seen in stock. So yeah, not much there except for the fancy swords. And by any chance have these... Yep, the bushes do not replenish themselves between chapters, so we can't make any more healing potions or rations from that. A friendly woman answered their knock. She introduced herself as Larissa Halfgate, daughter of Flendell Halfgate. After a short conversation, she further revealed that she was on her own, and she was having more than her share of trouble with a rusty barn door. I would be ever so grateful if you could help me open it, she said with an honest smile. James said they would look into the matter. She refreshed the water pouches, and they left. Well, her barn is back here, and we can try and open it. James pushed on the barn door. This door is jammed, he said to Owen. Come here and see if you can help me open it. Together the two men pushed, first with steady pressure, then with sharply pounding thrusts. Finally, after several minutes of effort, the door began to give. Then, with a grating metallic shriek, the metal hinges gave way, and the door swung open into the barn. Wow, we didn't need to use a strength-enhancing potion or anything. Larissa greeted them with a warm smile. Come in, she said. Have you solved my problem yet? James nodded. It could hardly be compared to slaying dragons, but it was no easy task, I assure you. The hinges had apparently become quite rusty and seized up. Thank you so much. I just wish I had some way to pay you, she said with a slight scowl. Then she brightened. You know, there are a few items my sisters left behind when they moved a year ago, and never came back to retrieve them. They're just taking space here. Perhaps they can do you some good. Let me see if I can find them. That won't be... James began, but the woman had already retreated to a far corner of the shelf. When she returned, she handed him a tuning fork, a shell, and an herbal pack. Not the most useful of items. I mean, we already have two tuning forks we haven't hardly used because they're only useful for scaring away trolls. But we may find a use for it yet. The house was badly in need of repair, but it appeared as though someone might be living in it, so James knocked loudly and stood back to wait. A female voice called to them from outside. Who is it? Official Kingdom business. We need to speak with you. The door opened slowly, and a woman who seemed surprised and dismayed to see them standing before her. Please, kind sirs, we didn't mean no harm. The house was abandoned when we found it. Her torn dress fluttered in the small breeze, just as her voice fluttered in her nervousness. Goraf noticed, sensed perhaps, that she was with child. That is not why we've come. What can you tell us of this area? Anything out of the ordinary? No, sirs, there ain't been much. Wait a minute. A detachment from High Castle camped out just south of here. I think they left behind a couple of boxes. Didn't look in them, though. James told the woman to stay in the house as long as she and her husband need to stay there. I don't think the owner has any plans to come back here. Goodbye. So, boxes to the south. Well, we have probably looted those already. Well, campsite here, but aha. Yes, I think we have checked these before. Let's go ahead and rest for the night first. Save game, get a scent of Sarag up. So much for Jimmy the Hand. Though I think that did increase his lock-picking ability a bit. And this one has nothing in it. Well. Ah! Trolls! And this close to a village, no less. Okay. I'm actually buying these for James's benefit, since he has not looked at the books yet. Though I will have to shift inventory around a bit so he can use them. Might as well go back and resell them. And yes, still nothing useful from any random woman we talk to in a tavern. Has the whole day passed already? Goodness me. And yeah, again, we just get warm greetings, thank you, blah blah blah. Now we're fast approaching High Castle here. Let's see, they said the grain... Aha, that was a sudden... But we did manage to surprise the trolls. But I really don't feel like messing with them. Any fight you can avoid and all that. Now, this farm had nothing in Chapter 1. I think this might be our granary. A pretty woman answered the door. After the appropriate introduction, she allowed them entry into her small but well-decorated home. They discovered her name was Sarah Halfgate and that her husband was a trader, away on business. "We've come looking for a bag of grain. Perhaps you could help us." The woman seemed hesitant. "Well, sirs, I have several bags of grain here, but my husband would be very angry if he found them missing upon his return. I could perhaps spare a bag if you could help me find a present for the Midsummer Festival." I'm not sure how we could help, James said. He's been talking about wanting a pair of leather leggings. If I could find such a thing, I'd give you a bag of grain. Do we have a deal? Well, that's a pretty good deal, but... I'm sorry I spoke too soon. I'm afraid we don't have any leather leggings. I see, said the woman. Well, please come back if you find some. They promised they would and bid her farewell. So now we have to find a pair of leather leggings. And where might we find leather leggings? Bloody good question. Because you might think to check a shop and you'd be wrong, because there is no place to buy leather leggings. And hey... well, that one we managed to open quite easily. There are wagon tracks on the ground here, but something's not right. They look fairly old, but the marks are too thin. Ordinary wagon wheels are about, say, 6 inches. These couldn't be wider than 3. There could be an ambush ahead. If we proceed in the direction we are currently heading, we should do so with great caution. I'm not sure how that clue indicates an ambush, but okay. James's knock was greeted with a giggle. The door was pulled open cautiously from the inside by 2 women. They seemed very nervous and giggled frequently as they introduced themselves. I'm Gina Halfgate, and this is my sister Andrea, the eldest began. Stifling nerve laugh, she continued, I hope you haven't come to hear us play. Play? Inquired James. My sister and I used to play our violins for all the lonely soldiers passing through. That's the first time I've ever heard it called that. But of late we haven't had many guests, and our instruments have gotten out of tune. Say, do you have a tuning fork? If you had a tuning fork, we would be ever so grateful. Seeing James's doubtful expression, she said, We don't have much money we could offer, but the soldier left behind some leather leggings we have no use for. Will you trade us a tuning fork for some leather leggings? Yes, we will! James agreed to the trade. She pulled the silver cut of a tuning fork from his pack and offered it to the sisters, who tittered excitedly. Together they retreated into a different part of the small house, and returned a few minutes later with a leather pair of leggings. The trade completed, James thanked them for their hospitality and left. You'll note that we leave before they started playing. Probably for the best. So now we get to try and sneak back through that ambush again. Troll ambush. Thankfully, I have that other tuning fork. I know what you're thinking. Am I going to do this every time we face a group of trolls in combat? I got 2 tuning forks. There's no other use for them. I might as well. Alright, so make our way back to Sarah Halfgate. I think it was the other road, now that I think on it. And yes, we have a deal. James nodded his head. Oh, I'm so glad we could strike a deal, said Sarah. My husband will be thrilled with his gift. She went to the corner of the room and pulled a bag of grain off the stack. Goraf joined her. Here, let me help you with that. She thanked him and followed him back to the others where the exchange was made. They quickly said goodbye, and she told them to be careful as they walked out of the door and returned to the road. So we now have a bag of grain and can return to the Temple of Dala as the brave and noble heroes we are. Well, kinda. Oh. Don't recall running into these guys before, but you know what? It hardly matters. On to the temple. And Okay, we are in fact... I took the wrong pathway. We were heading north. No wonder we ran into a group of trolls that didn't look familiar. Alright, so, Temple of Dala. To turn in the bag of grain and be the noble heroes of which and your, and yet, Philip, I don't care. I don't have time for this. So, James motioned for help. Seeing that they were burdened with their heavy bag of grain, a burly priest named Yabon hurried to their assistance, taking the weight upon his own shoulders. The high priestess will be most pleased to see you, the priest grinned. Do you remember the way to her private garden? Nodding, James, who was not there when we went to her private garden before, turned through a small arc, holding up a woven curtain for Owen and Goref to pass through. Together they cleared Rissa's contemplation glade. Glancing up from where she was trailing a hand through the gentle waves of the pool, she smiled warmly at them. You've brought the grain. How did you know? James asked, a little startled by the surety in the high priestess's green eyes. There are certain advantages to living in the presence of a goddess, she laughed. I knew this morning when I awoke that I'd be seeing you. I also knew that she would bestow upon one of you the boon of her blessing. Blessing? James asked, intrigued. Standing to assume a more priestess-like posture, she folded her hands in front of her stomach. To the one of you choose, she shall for the rest of his life watch over him and protect him from harm. This is Dala's will. James gasped. The goddess will make him invincible? Not as such, no, she said regretfully, but her favor will see to it that it will make it very difficult for him to be injured by those who seek to harm him. Who do you choose for this blessing? Well, even though James probably has the lowest defense of anybody this time, it's going to be much more important that we keep Owen safe. So, Owen! The priestess nodded. Walking to Owen, she placed her hands on his head, her eyes flashing a deep green as she intoned the words of prayer to her goddess. As soon as she began to speak, the character of the room seemed to change, as if the walls were fat being rendered in a hot cauldron. Dala, she cried out, protector goddess, shield of the weak, watcher at hearth and threshold, we seek your touch. This one who stands before your servant has acted with good faith in the name of the faithful. As high priestess of your order, I ask you to bestow upon him your boon. Shuddering, Owen gasped as a light flashed around him, seemingly emanating from within his flesh. The priestess seemed likewise shocked, though she recovered from its effects far more quickly. Slowly the effects of the flash faded, and the room began to resume its more normal appearance. Standing away from Owen, Rissa rubbed at her eyes with the heels of her hands. It is done, she said unceremoniously. You may go now. Dala has blessed you, Owen. Remember this always. And it says the party's abilities have increased. James's stealth is now at an insane 85, but Owen's stealth is at 94, and his defense is now 88. Goref's stealth is at 96. My elvish warrior and my magician are now stealthier than my thief. If it weren't for how I've been building them up, I'd be rather embarrassed about that fact. Well, we'll make a quick stop in High Castle to check the taverns there, see if Baron Kevin has some other task for us. And then I think we'll be ready to call it a day. Northwest of High Castle. And there's nobody here. 57 gold in the tavern. Inspired by the lighter laminated blades carried by the Serenity during the Rift War, the Elven Greatsword was a terror in battle. Double spurred, jutted from the base of its flamberge style blade, and its haft had been fitted with a heavy pommel to allow it to be thrust like a rapier. And it'd take up most of my gold to get. Well, probably only James's abilities have increased, but yeah, Armorcraft and Weaponcraft limp up a bit. And oh, what the heck, we'll take a full day's rest. Alright, well, did some good there, helped some people out. I think we'll go ahead and call it here, and next time, just for the fun of it, I think we'll head southward into the Dimwood, and well, probably fight a bunch of scorpions and not find much treasure, but what the heck, completeness for the sake of completeness. We'll see you next time.